It is Sunday, May 3rd, and we are 87 days away from the National. You said Jordy Nelson days. I think Sidney Crosby days. Are there other 87s that are better?
Sam Laporta.
Travis Kelsey?
Kelsey's a good pull.
Was Gronk 87? Or is this wrong?
Mm, he might have been.
I guess he was. Anyway, we're 87 days away from the National. This is the part one of probably like 20 National episodes we're going to do because it's May, and that means we're 87 days from the National. So I just think that doing these every so often gets us fired up because I think in my head, starting this podcast was all leading towards the National of like, hey, we're going to get like hyped up for cards in February. Hey, we're going to get hyped up for cards in whatever month, kind of like leading up to this. And I think the fact that we're in the middle of a 3 year Chicago back to back to back, not the Jordan back to back, but the National back to back, to me, it's like, it just, like, I don't have to leave, you know? Like, I know it's going to be, I know I had last year, then I have this year, and then I have next year as well. I don't have to worry about, like, oh, if I want to go to the National somewhere else, I really don't want to go to the National anywhere else but Chicago, Rosemont, whatever you want to call it, just because it's just easy for me. I don't have to worry about traveling for it. So that's why I'm just kind of taking it all in these next 2 years and kind of going at it differently each time. And I think the more and more I go to, the less effort I put into it. It more becomes a, hey, I have a game plan, and it's comes into, hey, I'm just gonna go and just hang out. And if I find something I want, then at that point, all right, well now it's just a card show. You know what I mean? But if I in past years be like, okay, I'm gonna have a plan, I'm gonna go get stuff graded, and then I'm gonna go to this section, and then I'm gonna go to this section. Last year I just kinda like chilling, I just kinda liked going with the flow of things and kind of following everybody, and the way that I have worked the National in the past has been like, hey, I'm going to start with somebody, and then I'm going to end up losing that person, and then I'm going to eventually find somebody else, and then I'm going to lose that person and then go back to the original person. And then I think that is how I work the best. And I think honestly that's kind of just how our group has done it in the past. And it could just be everybody because of how big the National is, especially this year. But I think doing it that way, it kind of doesn't keep everybody on, a specific line of like, okay, we have to do this, we have to do this. And it's just kind of, you gotta go with the flow a little bit more. I don't know, Joe. I mean, in the past, like last year, to be honest with you, I don't even remember much from last year. I remember lobby trade night. I remember how big everything was, like all of the corporate stuff,
I
and that's
remember.
about it.
I seem. I seem. So yeah. I mean, you bring up good points. Like I'm a planner by nature. I like to have things planned. But what I've come to plan for is your plans changing
Hmm.
at the national. Like I mean, we're always going to have like a general outline, and we're going to check boxes. But as far as like how the show plays out, I think so much of it has to do with like that first day really kind of sets the tone for the rest of the week. How much, maybe it's how much you sell, how much you trade, how much you buy that first day that kind of like shapes what the rest of the week is going to look like. Um, Last year I had some prearranged deals that I was able to complete both buying and selling. So that, you get that taken care of. It's been kind of a running joke amongst our friend group that like, every year's gonna be the year that we grade, and I haven't graded on site since the, the big post COVID
2021.
2021 national, and that was like a ton of fun, and I was happy with like my results and everything. But it just it becomes like one of those things where um I was at the time I was kind of iffy on just different things. I was kind of content at least where my collection was at that point in time. It's just like I don't need this card graded to enjoy this. But what's kind of evolved over time is my collection has I've acquired like a decent amount of stuff already graded, which is nice. And I'm trying to like when I go to buy things, I think not to get off on too much of a tangent, but I think sometimes when you buy cards already graded and you're content with the grade, sometimes like you're not fully most people don't factor in the cost and the time of grading itself when you're making a purchase unless it's like a PSA 10 and there's always going to be the multiplier, but an 8 or a 9 like people aren't really like factoring that in.
Mm-hmm.
So it's actually a nice savings when you want your collection to be a little bit more uniform. But yeah, this I think I will put a stamp, barring anything crazy unforeseen. This will be the year that I get back, and I think one of my game plans right away is to get into that Beckett or PSA, depending on what I ultimately decide to do. Probably we'll see. I don't want to say one way or the other, but I want to be able to get into one of those lines fairly quick and get some stuff slabbed up on site that I wouldn't want to put through the mail. You kind of mentioned like last year not remembering I seem to remember like there was a decent amount of time like and everyone starts out together for the first little bit, and then all of a sudden like everybody's everywhere kind of thing. It's like
Yeah.
we all just see different things, and all of a sudden everybody's just kind of like gone. And I just kind of seem to remember like the only place that I would like kind of like randomly bump into you, like you could always count on like at least maybe one of us being in the general like vicinity of 7-Out.
I was gonna say I
Shout
got
out to
like
7-Out.
a flashback as you were talking about stuff where it's like I remember the moment I walked in. I think I was heading to 7-Out's booth, and I ran into them, and then we were talking, and then I'm like, oh yeah, I got stuff to sell. And if anybody who doesn't know me, I will always go to 7-Out first and kind of just be like, hey, if you want the stuff, cool. If not, that's fine. But I always check with them first, and I would say most of the time they do want it at a very good price. So I'm just like, you know what? It's less of a headache. Boom, done. Shot at the 7-Out because that's what I remember. That's what I did the first day. I don't think I bought something after selling all that for like a day or two because I remember just getting so much money and being like, I'm going on a trip in a month or two that I want money for, and I don't want to spend anything on any cards or whatever. So that was kind of good. And I kind of want to do that same thing this year, but I don't think I'm going to sell anything. But I want to go into the idea of I don't want to spend money, and then maybe I'll find something that I actually want. But my wants are very, very slim, just like they were last year. And I think that's the key is like, what do you want? And then is it even possible at the show? Because I'll tell you what, I know they say if it's not at the National, it probably doesn't exist. But I'll tell you what, it does exist. It's just not at the National. So, or it's not being sold.
That was always kind of a fun little saying. And while it wasn't always 100% true, there was a time where that was more true than today.
Yeah, I don't think today that's true. I think there's definitely things that are out there. They're either at home in collections. They're either not at the show because the person's not at the show. But I could think of a couple things that I'd be like, oh, I would want that, but I don't think that they'll be at the show, or I don't think I'd be able to find them at the show just because I haven't in past years. And it's like, well, what makes this one different? Who knows? Maybe I can. But again, I think my want list maybe can, like, you can maybe fit it on a post-it note, my want list for the national, and you could use pretty big handwriting for that post-it note. There might be like 5 things that I maybe could think of, not right now, but I could think of that I would want. And then there's always the cards where it's like, oh, I'm just gonna buy these just because it's cool for the price, and I don't know what I'm gonna do with it, but it's cool for the price. To me, it's more so just hanging out with everybody, and it always has been that. Honestly, even going back to the first one in 2019, the only reason I went to it in the first place was to hang out with everybody, and that just kind of spawned into getting back into cards. But I think, we always talk about how that one was so much smaller than it is today, and I just went on the national website, which, by the way, I did buy my pass or whatever. So I am confirmed going to the national because I bought my pass. But I'm looking at the floor plan, and so the main floor or whatever, the bottom floor, the first floor, whatever, it's a lot more organized, I think, than it has been in past years, or at least last year. I think this year there's 2 big, like, corporate sections, I guess you can say. And that's nice because you don't have like, oh, here's Tops, and then here's eBay, and then here's Heritage, and then here's Golden, and then here's, Panini, and then here's whatever. So I do like how it's set up, and it's kind of intriguing because it does flow a little bit better the way that they did it, where the, Tops and Upper Deck and Golden and eBay, whatever, they're kind of against the wall in that back right corner. So that's kind of helpful in my opinion. But then on top of it, you got the first floor, or not the first floor, the top floor, which last year was a disaster. And national people, if you're listening, and we know you are, that was the worst last year. That top floor, where normally the Sports Spectacular is, just terrible. 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 I feel bad for the people that were there, that like were set up there. That wasn't an experience that anybody should have experienced. You had all that room. What are we doing? So this year, I think it looks a little bit more like they're using that room. I think a lot of it's going to be for, like, I think it looks like a third of it maybe is for it, like the admission, the general admission, and then the other 2/3 is, booths and tables and like big corporate areas or whatever surrounding those
Yeah, it's like
booths.
some people, yeah, so it looks like some corporate has like second and third even
Yeah.
like space up there. Um, I mean, you said it, like last year, it was not fun to go up there. I felt obligated to because it was, a
You
part of
gotta
the
check it
show, and
out.
there was some like for the stuff I was looking for at the time, like there was kind of like that realm of category anyway, so you wanted to like browse and like check it out,
Yeah.
but it was incredibly disappointing. Like it was you you couldn't
If you didn't
like
go in the
this is
first hour, it was over. And that's a
correct.
stretch because 30 minutes in to one of the
Oh, it
days,
was
it was
packed.
packed. And it's like, if
And
you go down the
and
thing, you can't get back out. So,
yeah, and what was crazy about it, it was like being in one of those, like, I don't know if you've ever had this experience, but like there's certain like fast food like drive-throughs, not in particular, I can't think of one off the top of my head, and it could be it's not even specific to a certain fast food restaurant. It's just how different things are designed. But if you've ever been in like a drive-through and then it's maybe taking too long, or you kind of have a change of heart, but you're already in, so you're committed, and that's how that is how this upstairs was last year,
yeah.
where like you start the zigzag and there's no exit point of the zigzag. Like once you're in, and the only way to get out is to go all the way, almost all the way through it.
when I was young, I think it was like 2006, we went to Disneyland. Splash Mountain was down. So we were already inside like the ride, like the ride queue. Like we were in the mountain in the ride queue, and the only way to leave was to go back out the other way. It wasn't like you could go forward and then out. It was like no, you had to go. You had to turn around and go back through everybody. Same thing, maybe even worse because of how many people were there and how close the tables were. This year, I'm hoping it's better. I mean, I honestly think that this year because I'm only going 3-ish days, um, I gotta go like Thursday morning, first thing, or Friday morning, first thing, and just go up there, see what it's like, and then maybe never go back, depending on what's there and how it is set up.
It
Again,
does look like there's more tables, but like you
yeah,
said, hopefully more spread out.
it better be spread out. If it's not spread out, then it's like I'll do a lap and then that will be it. Because I know a lot of people felt that it was there, but it wasn't there. And I always said that honestly, I don't know what the logistics are with getting a table at the National, but in my opinion, I think that upstairs section you can do how you have, the like baby's first corporate, booth around everybody. But I think if you have that top part be, you know, first year, second year, or whatever, like people who want to set up at the National, but they don't have the means to because they're not a big enough or they haven't been established. You put them up there, and then they have to graduate to the big room. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So that way, you still have them be a part of the show, but they're not taking up a
they're
space
kind
for
of
someone who's
yeah,
been
they're
there
kind
for
of
10 years or whatever.
yeah, they got like earning their stripes a little bit.
Pretty much, yeah. And then that way, it gives somebody a chance that has always wanted to set up but has never set up because of whatever logistics or politics, whatever it is. So it kind of just makes it a little bit better for that new person, and then they kind of get in the queue and everything. So, but I mean, we'll see how it is. I think the again, I don't see myself going up there as many times as I do walking around the different area. And honestly, now that I see this, like I think like Whatnot and some of like the live streaming areas and stuff, the Breakers Pavilion, as you say, it's I want to say it's in the same spot. I feel like a lot of the stuff's in the same spot except more connected, more
Yeah, it
grouped
does
or
look that
whatever.
it does look like that way for sure. I miss the simplicity of the old layouts like 2019, and obviously it's expanded, and we have that whole other kind of downstairs that they like sections that they've opened up since 2019. But like even 2021, like I just felt like the flow was better.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but this is where we're at now, and the whole kind of what would you call it? The whole kind of come up of like the live streaming, like that just takes up so much space. But I get it; it's a big part of the hobby now, for better or worse. And that I don't, what I do miss a little bit more about the national is like just I want to see more cards. Like I
Yeah.
want to see tables with cards, and obviously there's no other show that matches to the national even today with it being so much more corporate. But one of the concerns I think is you know the people like us who have seen it pre-boom, and it's never going to get back to that, especially at this point. But I long for the days of just endless, um, amounts of tables just with cards. And I remember like one of our bigger gripes back in the day used to be like, oh, like, there's too much vintage. They got to get those people out of there. Well, now it's just like, now I just don't know like how much we can take on.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I think you need a mix of everything, honestly, because I think having, like the vintage and then the modern and the new and the whatever, it kind of just does mix together because of, you know, the history behind this show. But I don't know. I mean, at the end of the day, I do like looking at the vintage stuff too. So it's not like
Yeah. Like in a perfect world, before I even like present the ideal scenario, at least in my head, why it won't work is because these, like, whether you talk about taking the the live stream pavilion and all the graders and putting them upstairs, and while that in theory would work, the nobody that's paying, especially corporate, who's paying like a ton of money to have these ginormous spaces, they want to be like in the
yeah, they want the
mix
center
of
of
like
attention.
the yeah, they want to be in the mix of like where the main thing is. They don't want to be like relegated to kind of an offshoot location. um I do, just looking at the map, right? And if you guys aren't familiar, you can go to nsccshow.com, pull up the interactive map for the National under Chicago 2026 that's powered by Ludex. And yeah, it's actually a pretty cool tool. Um, but just looking at the layout, I almost think you could really just like put corporate all it could I can't remember what year. It might have been Cleveland. I don't remember which.
Where a
Yeah,
corporate
it
was in the
must have been.
middle.
Yeah, and but it was like more lumped together.
Hmm.
This you've kind of got like you got the TriStar area, and then you've got um like that Bo Jackson Battle Arena, and then Beckett and um JSA, you know, kind of off to the side, and then it kind of bleeds into the the live stream pavilion. Then you've got PSA just right smack dab in the middle, shocker. And then you have like your main corporate, like where you're gonna buy your cards, like the Panini booth, Blowout, David Adams, Top, Fanatic, that the Upper Deck, all that stuff, right?
Walmart's got a
And
booth.
yeah,
That's crazy.
like, is that again? Did they have one last year?
Maybe I don't
I
remember.
don't remember. Yeah, I don't. One thing that kind of seems apt into, like, you remember like all the different kind of wax dealers. Like it seemed like there was more. Like you would have that, like, remember the Chicagoland folk,
Yeah.
and then you would have like Atlanta sports cards. I mean, if you truly want like a trip down memory lane, just type in like NSCC show vlog to 2016, 2017, 2018, because and if you can stomach it, the price tags of everything, oof.
I mean,
Like,
I had that realization today when I bought a Topps Chrome Football blaster box,
oh
and
my god.
thinking about how that is now $40, and I paid $40 for a 2014 Topps Chrome Football hobby box back in 2015 or whatever it was, 14, 15 times. So that's crazy. It might have even been
Yeah.
35, but it was definitely 35 or 40 for a hobby box. So yeah, the prices at all those shows past 10 years, especially pre-COVID, is crazy. But
Yeah, that kind of leads me to kind of, and we can kind of wrap things up unless you had anything else. But my kind of final thought right now, just kind of, and I think this is kind of a good thing to get out there, being, episode one of this kind of series within a series as we, head toward the national is we, you know, it's almost humbling because just when you think like the hobby can't get any hotter, all it's done ever since I thought it wouldn't get any hotter. I think I made a prediction last year in our kind of main group chat. I made a prediction last year that I thought that the hobby would like cool a bit. Josh, credit to him, he, he, if I remember correctly, and quote me or let me know if I'm wrong, but he had said that while he agrees that the hot or that things will cool off eventually, that there's just so much momentum behind Ops Fanatics getting on these licenses, and I totally, for whatever reason, obviously I knew that these licenses were coming, you know, to be in their control and the power and that there was going to be a level of hype, but I did not think that it would. For whatever reason, I just underestimated what that would do across the board. And you look at like player indexes, you look at categories, everything's in the green, and it's not only just in the green, it's significantly in the green when you look at like a full 365 outlook. And things were already hot last year. So I don't, it really is crazy. Like Fanatics, love them, hate them, feeling different about them. It it is the amount of marketing and everything that they're doing. It's definitely brought in new people and a lot of new people. I think with a decent amount of um, like disposable income, at least right now, to kind of play in this space because they're like, for example, like some Tom Brady stuff that I keep an eye on. It's right at like the crazy levels of like 2022 after that Super Bowl with the Bucks, and then that following year. So uh, I didn't think we'd ever see those prices again, at least for like a long time. I thought it'd be more organic. And we're, you look, and not just Tom Brady, you look at, I'm just using him as an example of somebody that I kind of follow closely, but you look at, like I said earlier, just across the board, it is nuts. And usually when things get like, and I don't know how you feel, but when things get like super, super hot, that's usually when I become like, I kind of like take a step back,
that's when I
evaluate,
leave.
or just it's like alarm bells and red flags going on. Just everything is just it's screaming at me like, okay, like take a step back. You know, Things are going to cool. Unfortunately, or fortunately, whatever way you want to look at it, a lot of the stuff I'm chasing now is you get like one crack at it, and if you don't get it, like you're just not going to have that
Yeah.
opportunity again. If I wasn't kind of playing in that space, I I would be very shy about buying a bunch unless it's just kind of like for the fun of things and it real like I think there's a lot of, and again, who knows, right? Like I just got done telling you, I thought we had maybe hit a peak, you know, for the end of last year, for sure, the beginning of this year. It's done nothing but just keep going up. Um,
Yeah, and I
yeah,
mean,
I know I said a lot.
no, I think this year will be no different. I think this will be a new peak, but it won't be the peak. So it'll be a new height, and it'll be, bigger and better than ever. It's a new era, as Triple H loves to say in this. But I think a year from now, going into the next year's national, I think we'll be right back having the same conversation of, oh, we thought 2026 was going to be big with cards, but then 2027 hit, and it hit with a vengeance. It was really really taken off, and I think at this point nothing surprises me with how popular everything is. But at the same time, you think about old school stuff, and then it's like, whoa, okay, like that's not something I expected. But at the same time, it is. So it's just a weird thing. And honestly, looking at how big this show has gotten, and just sitting here listening to you talk about like Tom Brady stuff, and then looking at this map and being like, oh, in 87 days or whatever, be walking through this entrance, and then be walking this way, and then we're gonna be like, hey, where are we gonna, meet up at? Because everyone's lost. Oh, let's, everyone meet up at the Panini booth, or, hey, I'm actually over by the, the
Were you even gonna
TriStar
get service?
autograph area. Yeah, like let me go get service, and then I'm like, hey, where's everyone at? And everyone's getting chicken tenders at that place, and it's like, oh, okay, well, I'm going back to the hotel or whatever. Like,
We might
it
just
gets
have
me
to walk around
excited.
with like walkie talkies.
Okay, I don't hate that, but I think the reception for those will be worse than phones. I really
Yeah,
do
I'm
think
not sure.
so.
I'm not sure. I'm not a walkie talkie like guru by any means.
That will be kind of
I
electric. Just like if we get
yeah,
the little wires that go up
the
to
ones
like your
with yeah, I was
arm.
gonna say within the earpiece.
Yeah, like yeah, we got Joe on aisle 15. He's here. We found him. It's like just looking like security, but we're not security. Just walking around looking all cool. Like
Yeah,
I'm sure there's gonna be some famous people there, and you know, I think this time when Tom Brady's there, I'll stay with you to see him versus
just to
last
say you
time.
did.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
I don't know.
I
I
think
think like it's just I think it's one of those things where it's like when I think about being at the show, it gets me fired up a little bit compared to
yeah,
just going to a normal show.
yeah, definitely.
It's an event.
It's one of it's one of those things where like we like once you get under the 100-day mark and it becomes like more real, like naturally you just start to get more excited. And like you kind of I'll bring it up just because you touched on it, like the show growing and growing, and there's been an art like nothing will be as bad arguably as like Cleveland and how they just were not ready. Like Cleveland was set up like 2018 Cleveland, which was amazing at the time, and they were not like they just could not accommodate what storm was coming, and that was 2024. So like we were starting to kind of ride. Like 2023 was like the most like lull year of the hobby that we'll probably see in a long, long time. We were coming off the highs of 2020, 2021, and the a chunk of 2022, and then 2023 comes. It was kind of like a lull, like I said, and then you had 2024 Cleveland. Things were starting to ramp back up. You could make, and people have made the argument like already, like just based on like last year, and credit to the National for trying and opening up like a total new space and having like a two-level show. But a real argument can be made that it's already outgrown the Donald E. Stevens, and then we'll see what next year looks like, especially if we continue at this pace. But then we've got Detroit after, which biasly excited for. Chicago will always be my favorite for a variety of reasons. Um, but Detroit, I think, is going to be, again, all bias aside. Like I think Detroit's going to have a chance to you know people have a I think when certain people hear about Detroit, like a lot of negative things come to mind. And this is going to be a real opportunity. And I know Detroit's going to knock it out of the park. It's a more open and more square footage than the Donald E. Stevens, where they're going to be having it. Not to look too much down the road, but I don't know. Like this last, it is not with. It's not out of the realm of possibility that this 3 year stretch that that you mentioned of being at, the good old Donald E. Stevens, that it could be the last. This year could be the second to last time ever.
Hey, you know what?
There's already been a ton of rumors about, good old, not good old, but McCormick Place, which it creates more logistical issues.
Nightmares.
Like, yeah, hotels get more expensive. It's way further from the airport. Parking at these hotels is going to be insane.
I will say, if this is the last of the Donald D. Stevens, I hate the Donald D. Stevens Convention Center. I hate Rosemont. That's besides the point. But if this is the last of the National there, then hey, you know what? We had a run. I'm just glad that we made it this far.
We'll have to make a tribute video of like you have to chop something up and
like,
with the good old exactly. You took the words right out of my mouth. Yeah. If it comes to that, that's maybe a next year thing, but we'll see.
Ric Flair retirement.
Yeah, but exactly.
All right. Well, I think in the next time we do, honestly, at this point, we just might be talking about the National every week, but that's fine because
probably
I think that's again the backbone of this podcast and the show, and that's what we look forward to every second of the card day. I don't want to say every second of the day, but anytime the time that I allot for thinking about cards, I definitely think about the National at least once. So that's that. Yeah, 87 days. Prepare yourself. Prepare your wallets. Prepare your collections because it's coming and it's coming fast.
Prepare the deodorant.
The what?
Deodorant.
Oh God, that's like we could do a whole hour on that, but we don't have to. Please shower. Please wear deodorant. This is
do those things. We'll probably do like a whole kind of down the road. That's a good idea. Ideas in lifetime. Great content. We'll do a
how to
like a do's and don'ts or something.
I should do posters. I should make posters of and hand them out like flyers. Like, please wear deodorant. That's the wrestling fans and card people at the National. The two that Anyway, that'll be the next episode. Deodorant and what brands are the best to pair with your cards. If you're a Topps fan, we got a brand for you. Deodorant. Anyway, all right. Well, that was this one, part 1 of the National series, and we'll talk to you after a while.
Okay. Catch you in the next one.